Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive in some really varied source material. I mean, it jumps from fitness to philosophy, geopolitics, even media criticism. It feels uh, pretty scattered at first glance.
It does, yeah. But there's a strong theme running through it all.
Right, that's what we're after. Our mission here is to pull out the essential bits, the surprising connections, focusing on, I guess, willpower, discipline, and how you use those to navigate, well, this complicated world we're in.
Exactly. And the sources really set up this tension, don't they? You've got this intense personal discipline on one side, achieving mastery, staying healthy.
Mhm.
And then on the other side, there's all this mental chaos, the societal stuff, information overload, tribalism, addiction, things constantly pulling you off track.
Makes sense. How are we structuring this?
We figured 3 parts make sense: the body, then the mind, and finally the modern world. Kind of zooming out as we go.
Good plan.
Yeah.
So where do we start? You found a great hook.
Yeah, this bizarre little anecdote. Logan Paul, shooting, accidentally grazes a dove. He holds it, and supposedly it just heals and flies off.
Right, the kind of story people love to turn into something mystical.
Exactly. But then you hit the fact, the actual ecological fact, doves are the single most hunted bird in North America.
Yeah.
Millions hunted every year.
Wow. So that bird isn't just a symbol of peace. It's a survivor. Hardcore resilience.
Precisely. It connects that weird personal story to this stark reality of survival, which I think leads us perfectly into part 1, the iron will. Physical discipline, building that foundation.
Okay, the body. Let's talk about preparation. The sources really hammer this home. It's not just about the main event. Muhammad Ali, the story goes, he warmed up for a solid hour. An hour.
Yeah, and that's key. Think about elite boxers on the mitts. It's not just banging away. It's often that really light, controlled tap, tap, tap. Slow, meticulous.
Building the pathways.
Exactly. Building the capacity safely. That kind of care is what allows someone to do something physically demanding, like, say, wrestling, well into their 50s or beyond. It's the groundwork. Bird dogs, fire hydrants, the unglamorous stuff.
It's the insurance policy.
Totally. It enables that longevity. And speaking of longevity and commitment, some of the feats of endurance are just staggering.
Like that 80-year-old woman finishing the Ironman World Championship. I mean, that's an 8.8-kilometer swim, then a full marathon. It's just, wow.
That's pure iron will, sustained over years. And it shows up in simpler things, too, demonstrating that incremental progress, like hanging from a pull-up bar.
Oh, yeah, the hanging example.
Yeah.
Start small.
Right, 15 seconds maybe. But people build that up. The records are kind of nuts. A woman held on for 23 minutes.
23 minutes.
Yeah. And a man switching arms managed 2 hours and 22 minutes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But the benefit isn't just hanging on, is it?
No, not at all. It's incredible for grip strength, obviously, but also spinal decompression, just letting gravity gently pull things apart, really beneficial.
Okay, so endurance is one thing. But then there's this counterintuitive strength philosophy you flagged from Pavle Tatsilin, the Russian kettlebell guy.
Yeah, Pavla. And his core idea flips the script. Strength is a skill.
A skill, not just brute force.
Exactly. And the golden rule that follows is, you never train a skill when you're tired. Think about learning guitar. You don't practice until your fingers are cramping and you're making mistakes.
No, you just be practicing bad habit.
Precisely. So for strength training, instead of pushing to failure, they recommend these really long rest periods between sets, like 5, even 10 minutes.
10 minutes rest between sets. Sounds unproductive.
It sounds crazy in our go hard or go home culture, I know. But the example was like 3 sets of 10 kettlebell clean and presses with 70 pounds. You rest that long to ensure every single rep is perfect. High quality, non-fatigued.
So you're teaching your nervous system to be strong, not just tiring out the muscle.
You got it. Minimizes fatigue, maximizes quality, and crucially, reduces the risk of injury. It's about getting stronger, not just getting tired.
That focus on the right approach, the specific knowledge. It ties into that health anecdote too, right? The severe heel pain.
Oh, yeah, that was a fascinating one. Someone dealing with really bad heel pain. Doctors, podiatrists couldn't figure it out. The fear was necrosis, dying tissue.
Yeah.
Pretty scary.
Yeah, terrifying.
But the actual cause, found by a specialist trainer, Squat University, I think it was purely structural.
Structural.
Narrow shoes, just shoes that were too tight in the toe box, pushing the big toe inwards.
And that caused heel pain.
Yeah, apparently it was restricting blood flow all the way back to the heel.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously. And the fix, just wearing wide toe shoes. 5 days, pain gone.
5 days after doctors were stumped and worried about necrosis? That's incredible.
Yeah.
It really shows how sometimes the root cause is overlooked for complex diagnoses.
It really does. And that idea, finding the real root cause, not just the symptom that takes us right into section 2, the mental battle.
Yeah.
Addiction, willpower, sorting truth from noise.
Okay, the mind. So if physical pain can have these hidden structural causes, what about mental struggles? The sources touched on this idea is intense focus, like extreme commitment, a form of addiction itself.
It's a provocative question, isn't it? Like David Goggins finding peace in punishment, or even, say, a monk becoming almost addicted to calm. Is that intense drive just channeled addictive energy?
So the idea is if you have that kind of powerful engine inside you, maybe the key is steering it, channeling it into something productive, like ultramarathons, instead of something destructive.
That seems to be the suggestion. And that sobriety or breaking any powerful habit requires finding a way to make the alternative state more pleasurable, or at least more compelling, than the addiction.
Which sounds incredibly difficult, especially with certain substances.
Yeah.
The sources gave some stark examples.
Yeah, really stark. Heroin, for instance. The irony is it was originally marketed by Bayer as a non-addictive alternative to morphine.
Wow, that backfired spectacularly.
Hugely. And you hear these firsthand accounts. Someone trying heroin and immediately thinking, oh, I'm in trouble. Or Charlie Sheen talking about his first time with crack and sex, calling it the greatest experience of his life.
Right. When you hear that intensity, you understand why breaking free is such a monumental battle. How do you compete with the greatest experience?
Exactly. It requires immense willpower, discipline, and often finding a completely different framework for meaning. And that need for clarity, for discerning truth, extends beyond personal battles into how we process information generally.
Yeah, this next part was pretty eye-opening. The statistic about medical literature, that up to 50% of the information might be wrong.
50%. Think about that. Half of what's published in medical journals could potentially be incorrect. That's unsettling.
It really is. It means you can't just blindly trust the science as a monolithic thing. You need critical thinking. That discipline again.
Absolutely. And we see the practical implications, like echinacea for colds, widely used, people swear by it. But the research cited, it shows little to no statistically significant benefit over placebo. Basically, it likely doesn't do much.
So best case, it's a waste of money. But sometimes the risk is worse, right? The acetaminophen point, Tylenol.
Yeah, that one's genuinely alarming. Acetaminophen Tylenol is the #1 cause of acute liver failure in America. Causes around 500 deaths every single year.
500 deaths. From an over-the-counter painkiller most people think is completely safe.
Right. It just hammers home the need for caution, for questioning even the most common advice, which leads nicely to the critique of false expertise, using chiropractic as an example.
Okay, yeah, the history there was wild.
Yeah.
Founded by a magnetic healer.
Daniel David Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, a magnetic healer who claimed he received the core idea during a seance. And his son, B.J. Palmer, who took over and really marketed it, was apparently quite the con artist. Early claims involved curing things like leukemia.
That sounds not very scientific.
Not remotely based on those origins. And the sources are clear about the real risks associated with certain techniques, especially forceful neck manipulation strokes, compartment syndrome. These are documented dangers.
Okay, so real risks.
Definitely. But here's the important nuance the sources stressed. This isn't saying all physical therapy or manual manipulation is bad. Far from it. Proven techniques, used correctly by qualified physical therapists, do offer real objective benefits for musculoskeletal issues.
Right. So the takeaway is about discernment. Separating evidence-based practice from something with, let's say, questionable origins and potential dangers.
Exactly. It's about applying that same discipline we talked about. Assessing the evidence, understanding the risks, questioning authority that isn't backed by solid data, that rigorous approach.
And that skill, that discipline of sorting fact from fiction or skill from pseudoscience, that's presented as crucial for navigating the modern world too, right? That's our third section.
Yeah, modern world.
Yeah.
And the core idea here is that developing personal competence in something real acts as a kind of shield.
A shield against what?
Against tribalism, mostly. The argument is, if you ground your identity in actually getting good at something, could be stand-up comedy, martial arts, coding, anything requiring real skill, you develop internal validation.
Because you know you can do something.
Right. You have earned competence.
Yeah.
And that makes you less likely to just adopt a prepackaged political or social identity, a tribe, simply because you feel adrift or lack a sense of personal accomplishment. Your identity comes from mastery, not just affiliation.
Interesting. But the outside world doesn't make that easy. It constantly throws chaos and control at you. Like that UK censorship example.
Yeah, that was pretty striking. 12,000 arrests in the UK in 1 year for social media posts.
12,000. For what kind of posts?
All sorts, apparently, including things deemed just annoying. The example given was someone saying, "I like bacon around Muslims in public," arrested for being annoying or offensive.
Wow. That's a really concerning path. A slippery slope, as they say.
Definitely highlights the dangers when speech itself, even offensive speech, starts getting policed so heavily. And this ties into navigating complex global issues, too, where information is weaponized.
Like the Israel-Palestine conflict example.
Exactly. The sources pointed out this weird dynamic where, because of political bias, many people just couldn't acknowledge that someone like Donald Trump actually did negotiate several peace agreements between Israel and various African and Middle Eastern nations.
So the political dislike blinded people to an objective outcome.
Pretty much. Ideology trumped observed reality, which makes that Bob Geldof quote resonate, the one about Gaza.
Remind me.
Just that visceral plea, we got to stop and make sure those kids are fed. Cut through the politics, the ideology, and address the immediate human need. It takes discipline to do that, to set aside the narrative.
Because the narratives are so powerful and often distorted. The media aspect.
Oh, absolutely. Political discourse thrives on straw man arguments, misrepresenting the other side to make them easier to attack.
Like claiming voters only support someone because they want to use a slur, or critics saying comedians are somehow voting for fascism. It's simplistic and avoids the real issues.
Totally. And it often comes down to stripping away context. That Katie Porter example was perfect.
What happened there again?
She was actually defending LGBTQ people, arguing against the harmful groomer label being thrown around. But online, short clips were used completely out of context to make it sound like she was somehow excusing predatory behavior.
Ah, right. The danger of the soundbite, the viral clip. Context just evaporates?
It vanishes, and then productive dialogue becomes impossible. All that's left is tribal sniping.
So what's the antidote the sources suggest?
Rigorous good faith dialogue. They praised examples like Coleman Hughes debating Dave Smith, people willing to actually engage with opposing views, challenge their own assumptions, maybe even learn something new. That intellectual discipline.
Contrasting that with just
Yeah.
perpetual feuds and online pylons we see so often.
Exactly. That willingness to engage honestly, even in disagreement, using facts and logic, that's the discipline needed to counter the chaos.
Okay. So wrapping this all up, it feels like we've covered a lot of ground. From like the nitty-gritty of rest periods and weightlifting and weird shoe fixes to the massive challenge of sorting truth from fiction in medicine and media and resisting these really powerful tribal pulls. It all seems to circle back to discipline, doesn't it? Physical, mental, informational. That's the toolkit.
That really is the core synthesis, I think. Personal mastery, developing skill, and relentlessly seeking objective truth, or at least being honest about the complexities. That's how you maintain some autonomy, some sense of self in a world that's constantly trying to overload you, categorize you, and frankly, manipulate you. Vigilance is key.
Vigilance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, you found a final pretty chilling thought for us to leave listeners with. About vulnerability and surveillance.
Yeah, it connects back to that information landscape and just how exposed we are. The tech exists now. Authorities can apparently identify individuals regardless of disguise. How?
Things like gait recognition, analyzing the unique mathematical pattern of how you walk, or even heart signature lasers, detecting your unique heartbeat rhythm from a distance.
Heart signature lasers. Okay, that's straight out of sci-fi.
Feels like it, doesn't it? But here's the detail that really struck me. They mentioned authorities can potentially detect when a woman is pregnant based purely on her migratory shopping patterns, changes in what she buys online or in stores.
Great. They can figure that out from shopping data, possibly before she even knows herself.
That's the implication, this complete erosion of privacy, where tiny bits of data paint this incredibly detailed, predictive picture of you. It just underscores why that internal discipline, that constant conscious vigilance about information, about your choices, about reality itself, is more critical than ever.